Well, see, when you look at somebody like me, I grew up here. There's nothing you can tell me about Memphis that I don't already know.
There's nothing you can tell me about Memphis.
From the boardroom to the streets.
I don't already know.
With Mike from Memphis, man. Together we can fix things. Really?
When you say, I want to be treated fairly, and I want a voice.
Yeah. He saw things weren't fair, so he chose to run for mayor. You get up and do something when you really care. It's Memphis 360.
I'm with you.
In the meantime,
It's Memphis 360.
In the meantime, in between time, we got folks shooting people up out the frame. Anybody said a word. We've become accustomed to people dying in this city.
Yeah. It's Memphis 360.
Turning the TV on and the news and see our loved ones and see young people that are out of control. And now you see, okay. We talk about incarceration. We talk about the youth. We talk about giving them the ability. We talk about investing in young people and investing in the community. See, I hate ignorance. I hate when people make decisions about things and they make statements and they haven't done their research.
How can you fix the problem when you don't even know what the problem is?
We need some help in this city.
It's Memphis 360.
See, I hate ignorance.
It's Memphis 360. Man.
And good evening. As usual, we'd like to welcome you to Memphis 360, the show that we say we like to go from the boardroom to the streets. We're going to get right into the subject matter tonight. I'm going to be here by myself because I had some things that I wanted to kind of get off my chest. And please, I'd like to talk to some of you out there in Facebook land. The phone lines are open. You can call 901-244-6874, 901-244-6874. Can you imagine getting a phone call? You see police running all over the place. You get a phone call that there has been an active shooter situation that occurred at Caldwell Elementary School, or Germantown Elementary School, or Cordova Elementary School, Whitehaven Elementary Schools. Shots have been fired. You don't know what's going on. This is what actually occurred in Uvalde, Texas. There was a 19-year-old that first shot his grandmother in the face. This is an individual that felt that he had been shunned by his peers at his high school. He had also made threats against the individuals at the high school. But you got all of this going on, and now you get a call that there are shots fired at your child or your grandchild's elementary school. This individual, a couple of days prior to the shooting, purchased 2 semi-automatic weapons. And even though he was 18, I believe, he had just turned 18, he legally purchased those weapons. As you very well know, here in the state of Tennessee, they're trying to propose a ordinance to whereas, or a law, to whereas 18-year-olds have the ability to purchase guns legally in this state. Well, in the state of Texas, I'm assuming that they already have that ability because in Uvalde, Texas, this young man, after his 18th birthday, purchased 2 semi-automatic weapons. And he went into that school after shooting his grandmother. and started shooting babies. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old babies. If I'm not mistaken, he shot 19 children. I personally, for the life of me, cannot fathom looking at a child and shooting a child. But different people have different mindsets. Different people are going through different things, but to shoot a first, second, third, fourth, fifth grader, I just can't see it. And then he also shot and killed 2 teachers. What world are we living in? Now, a lot of people are saying, now we need gun control. We need to take all of these guns off the market. We need to limit individuals' abilities to actually carry and buy and purchase these guns. I think in Canada, they just did a ban on any new assault weapons or any new guns. Now, you and I very well know that's not going to happen here in the United States. I am a firm believer of the Second Amendment rights, Mike Williams, the right to bear arms. But I do believe that there needs to be restrictions on the types of weapons that individual citizens are allowed to purchase. I also think there needs to be some type of restrictions on the age of individuals that are allowed to purchase weapons. Any parent out there that has a child that is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, we know that they are still children. They still think like children. Some of them can't do things for themselves yet. They have not fully developed. Their minds are all over the place. So I don't know if I want my 18-year-old to have the ability to purchase a weapon. Now, some people are going to give the argument, well, he can join the military at 18. He can actually go and fight for his country at 18. He can do all kinds of things at 18. And I will say that you are correct. He can do those things at 18. However, their minds are not fully functional. When you go through the military, you go through training to learn how to handle weapons. You go through training. They break you down. They build you back up. They give you all of the resources that you need to be able to fully function, handle a gun, know when to do what it is you need to do. They train you for combat. So, how do you feel about individuals' ability to be able to purchase weapons at the age of 18 years old? And also, how do you feel about an individual's ability to be able to, once again, purchase a weapon at 18 years old? And how do you feel about gun control? Do you think we need to ban all assault weapons? Do you think we need to limit individuals' ability to have access? Do you think there needs to be controls put in place to possibly stop some of these individuals from doing some of the things that have occurred? The number to call is 244-6874, 901-244-6874. Talk to me about it. How do you feel about gun control? How do you feel about these weapons? Now, I'm going to tell you just my philosophy, and especially when it comes to these 18-year-olds supposedly having weapons. And the state of Tennessee wanting to allow 18-year-olds to purchase weapons. I don't think, me personally, that it is geared toward the inner city and the African American community. And I'm going to tell you why. Some people are probably going to get mad. But we already have in the African American community, unfortunately, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds that are already carrying weapons. When we have such a high rate of homicides, most of them are committed by individuals, I believe, 24 or 20 and under. A lot of the crimes that are committed by the individuals with weapons 20 and under. They got guns anyway. So I think a lot of the deterrent that some of the lawmakers, especially in East Tennessee and Middle Tennessee, feel as though we need to allow the law-abiding citizens the ability to be able to purchase and carry guns. That's why I say I don't think it's geared toward the inner city or the African Americans, that law. But I will tell you that crime consistently and is still off the chain in the city of Memphis. Did you guys watch the news this weekend? Did you see the shootings that occurred? Did you see all the vehicles that were broken into downtown Memphis? What's up, Keely? Did you see all of the carnage that was going on here in this city? We have to do something to get the crime under control in this city. But I still want to know, and I'm trying to get you guys to talk to me, because there are some discussions that need to be had when it comes to gun control. How do you feel? 244-6874. 244-6874. Why don't you weigh in? There are those that are against gun control. There are those that are for gun control. And like I told you, me personally, I feel there need to be some restrictions put in place, but I don't want nobody taking my guns. When you have responsible gun owners, I don't think that their Second Amendment rights should be affected. Now, do I think I should be allowed to carry around a machine gun? No, I don't, because I have no need for a machine gun. Do I think I should be allowed to purchase a shotgun? Yes, I do, in case I want to go rabbit hunting or something. Do I think I should be allowed to purchase a handgun? Yes, I do, because I have the right to bear arms. That's what the Second Amendment says. I have the right to protect myself and my family, because you take away everybody else's gun, all of the crooks and criminals are going to have guns. Do I think that young 18-year-old down in Uvalde, Texas, should have been able to go buy 2 assault weapons? No, I don't. Do I think if, in fact, by the time he turned 21 and his record is still clean and he is living a productive life and he has no psychological issues in his background, that he should be able to purchase a weapon? Yes, I do. Because I'm going to tell you, even though you are over the age of 21, if you have psychological issues, then you're going to do what you're going to do. We are never going to be able to stop crime altogether, because some of it is psychologically motivated. Some of it is personally motivated. Some of it is selfishly motivated. Individuals that are trying to garner wealth based upon other people's hard work. Individuals that have angst with their family members or their spouses, or their neighbors. And there are so many people out here that are psychologically affected right now because of everything, the pandemic, because of economics. You know, I passed some gas stations today and I saw gas was $4, and I think I saw one said $4.60 a gallon. And I'm going to talk about what happened at the gas station, Keeley. All of these things have a psychological effect on society and how society acts. Now, a lot of these young people are off the chain, period. And somebody needs to snap them up by the neck, you know, and deal with them. But we talked a little bit about the shooting in Uvalde, Texas, where 19 innocent babies were killed and 2 teachers. Now, you know something was wrong with this individual when you shoot your grandmother in the face. Something is psychologically not right with you. You are not balanced. But even prior to that, the interesting thing was you had another shooting that occurred at a Buffalo supermarket. Now, the individual that did the shooting in Uvalde, Texas, was of Hispanic descent. You had another individual that did a mass shooting at a Buffalo supermarket. And it says, uncensored video shows a moment a heavily armed white teenager dressed in military-style tactical gear slaughtered 10 people in a racially motivated mass shooting. He live streamed at a Buffalo supermarket. The shooter identified, and here we go again, another 18-year-old. The shooter identified as 18-year-old Peyton Gendron drove from hours away to Conklin, New York, to the Tops Friendly Market on Jefferson Avenue in a predominantly black neighborhood. 10 people were killed, 3 others were injured. There were 11 black victims and 2 white victims. The shooter arrived to the market at around 2:30 p.m., according to sources, with the N-word, we all know what the N-word is, scribbled in white paint on one of his guns. He also had a camera to live stream the shooting. So this young man wanted to live stream the shooting. Is this crazy or what? But see, this is individuals that have psychological problems. You drive for hours to go to the inner city to find a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood. It says he was armed with a semi-automatic rifle, a hunting rifle, and a handgun, all of which were lawfully obtained, according to a senior law enforcement officer. Peyton Gendron opened fire in the parking lot, killing 3 people and injuring a 4th Buffalo police commissioner, Joseph Grimalda, said. He also said that he went inside the store where he ran into a longtime beloved security guard and former Buffalo cop Aaron Salter, Jr., who tried to stop him. But Salter's bullet failed to pierce the attacker's armor. So this guy, he went in there prepared to do damage. He had on body armor. Jesus Christ. What's up, sweetie, my baby? Kenyatta? Yep, daddy do look good, don't he? And it says uncensored video shows the mass shooter opening fire on victims outside and inside the Buffalo supermarket. Buffalo police confronted the shooter, who at one point put the gun to his own neck before authorities were able to talk him into surrendering. The carnage occurred on a Saturday afternoon when many people were doing their grocery shopping. 2 young individuals, 2 18-year-olds, the last 2 mass shootings. This occurred in early May. This one occurred May 24th, the one in Uvalde, Texas. Oh, and by the way, the Hispanic guy was shot and killed by law enforcement. This guy, Peyton, was taken into custody unharmed. He was talked out of shooting himself by the police. So what do you think? Do you think 18-year-olds should be allowed to carry guns? Do you think 18-year-olds should be allowed to purchase guns lawfully? How say you? I personally don't think so. I don't think they're mentally ready. I think with everything that I see going on all across the country in major cities, I think everything that is happening, that a lot of these young people are not psychologically prepared to be able to do that. The number to call is 244-6874, 901-244-6874 if you would like to weigh in. I would surely like to hear what you think, because I know that there are some people out there that are actually watching that have an opinion. They're either for or against. For or against, because you have a major debate now in the Senate. You have a major debate in the House of Representatives. You have the president that is calling for gun control. You have the Prime Minister of Canada who has already implemented some measures to stop guns from coming into Canada, to stop additional guns being brought in. They're issuing stiff penalties for anybody that is identified or anybody that is caught bringing assault weapons and I believe even additional handguns into Canada at this time in a measure, and that is considered extreme, in a measure to possibly control the guns that are in that country. And as stated once before, I know that's not going to happen here in the United States. No way, no how, no time. And I'm not sure that it should happen because for some reason, all of the criminals tend to still get guns here in the United States. So I guess nobody want to talk to me about the guns. Nobody want to talk to me about how they feel about gun control. Okay, so if we're not going to do that, let's talk about some of the other things that happened here in the city of Memphis this week. How about all of these videos that are popping up all over the place of young ladies that are standing on top of police cars and they're twerking. They're twerking on police cars. They're twerking, you know, they had a car show, I believe, out there at Hollywood and Chelsea. And place is just crowded, police all over the place. And there's this one particular video, well, there are a couple of videos that are circulating about individuals in cars, on top of cars, and that are twerking. I don't know what the big deal is with this. I don't know why individuals want to do this. You know, it used to be a time when a young lady was a valued commodity. And they are still a valued commodity, but they don't value themselves like they used to. You know, it used to be, I used to have fun trying to chase women. Oh, I think everybody out there looking at me know what twerking is, Angel. Angel said, tell the people what twerking is, Michael. How do I explain that, Angel, without being vulgar? Anyway, most of you know what twerking is, but for those of you that don't know what twerking is, that's when young ladies, or men, I guess, because I see guys do it too, they kind of bend over a little bit, put their buttocks in the air, and bounce it up and down. Was that good enough, Angel? Okay. And they bounce it up and down. So There was a young lady that, for some reason, jumped on top of an MPD squad car. And this video is all over the internet now. She jumped up on top of an MPD squad car and just started twerking. And I believe she had on a swimming suit, but it was getting kind of dark, and I think a lot of people thought she was naked. But after carefully looking at the video, I think she had on a swimsuit. So she's on top of the squad car twerking, and there's an officer in the car. So the officer jumps out of the car, walks to the back of the car, walks back around to the front of the car. I'm thinking he's telling the young lady to get off the car. So then he gets back in the car. And a lot of people were kind of upset because they were like, so Twin Soup Campbell watching saying, twerk for views, twerk king. So she's twerking on the car, and a lot of people are saying, you know, well, why didn't he drag her off the car? Or why didn't he take control of the situation? Or why didn't he back the car up and flip her off the car? Or why didn't he pull forward and she flip over the car and she bump her head? If he did that, then we wouldn't have to worry about people jumping on squad cars twerking. There was a time nobody would go near a squad car, even if an officer wasn't there. But this is just letting you know that it has gotten to a point to whereas there is a blatant disrespect for police officers, there are blatant disrespect for authority, there are blatant disrespect for just doing the right thing. Now, if in fact the officer would have snatched that girl off that car, see, you have to, and I always tell people, and even when I was president of the Police Association, I would tell them, you have to know the full scope of everything that is going on. You got all of these cars out there at Chelsea and Hollywood. I don't know if this officer is there by himself at that particular corner or that particular intersection, and if you got people all around and people everywhere. If he would have made any type of aggressive move toward that young lady, it could have been very dangerous for a lot of people. For instance, the crowd could have tried to overtake him, to subdue him, and it may have led to him possibly firing shots or doing something to that effect. Sometimes you have to know when to just kind of stand down, even though it made the police look bad. The other thing is officers have to really be careful in this environment. Back in the day, they probably would have snatched that chick off that car. They'd have probably pulled forward. She'd have flipped off the car, and wouldn't nobody said a word. Yeah, a lot of people in the community would have been, oh, he ain't have to do that. Oh, he ain't have to do that. But there would also been people saying, that's what she get. She shouldn't have been on top of the car. Don't you know not to stand on a police car? Don't you know what's going to happen? But because of George Floyd, because of Trayvon Martin, because of Tamir Rice, because of a lot of the incidences that have happened, officers have to be very careful. And if you remember, back in 2012, 2013, the MPA put billboards up, said, danger, do not enter. Because we knew the direction that we were headed in. And even back then, a lot of people did not want to hear or to listen to those warnings. Because guess what? We are there now. Because you watered down the police, because you took away the authority that police officers had, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we should let the police just beat folk up, and I'm not saying you should let police abuse people, and I'm not saying you should let the police just do what they want to do. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is without order, there is chaos. And guess what we have now, y'all? Chaos. Chaos. That is what we have. And we have chaos because they're not scared of the police. And some people will say, well, Michael, they're not supposed to be afraid of the police. And I'm going to tell you that they need to be scared of somebody. They ain't scared of their mama. See, we were afraid of our parents. They're not afraid of the parents. They're not afraid of the grandparents. Just as you saw this 18-year-old shot his grandmother in the face. You hear incidences all the time where you have young men and young women that are jumping on their parents or their grandparents who have been left with their custody. There is a blatant disrespect for authority. Then there was another video of a young lady twerking. I don't know if she was twerking on a squad car. She just might have been out there twerking in a car, but she was standing up in a car, I believe. And this was a big old officer and dude just walked up and snatched her and dragged her on off. When you're dealing with different situations, you have to be thinking all through the situation. Did I like what I saw when I saw the young lady twerking on the MPD police car? No, I did not. Did I like the fact that the officer got out of the car, just kind of walked around a little bit, told her to get off the car, I guess. Some young lady even almost followed him back into the car. And then he finally got in the car and he drove off. Now, me, as the former president of the Police Association, I'm going to tell you that was probably the best thing that he could do. And it was probably the best thing that he could do because there were no residual effects other than his feelings being hurt, other than MPD probably looking bad. But the young lady wasn't hurt. He wasn't hurt. The situation was ended. And everybody went on their merry way. Because I'm going to tell you, like I said, when you get those crowds that are out there like that, and those crowds are already revved up, and a lot of times those crowds are anti-12 or anti-police, it could get very bad very quick. And if you can defuse the situation, a lot of times that is the best out. So did it look good? No, it did not. Are there police officers that are pissed off? Yes, there are. But you're finding more and more police officers are walking away from situations because, yeah, you may want him to snatch that girl up and deal with it, but what if he snatched her up? What if some of those other guys joined in? You don't know who out there carrying guns because guess what? Eventually at that same location, people were shot. So you better believe these guys running around these SRTs and these Challengers and these Mustangs and all, bruh, in the trunk of those cars, a lot of them, they're carrying AKs. They're carrying ARs. They're carrying 9s with switches. They're carrying guns with 100-round drums. They're carrying pistol with 30-round mags. They even have more firepower than the police out there at that particular time, a lot of times. So yes, common sense have to be employed, like Terry Cox is saying. What's up, Terry? The number to call is 244-6874, 901-244-6874 if you would like to chime in. I know a lot of people are out there watching the game tonight where Angel want to be. I didn't do a show last week, so I wanted to come in and get some of this stuff off my chest. Look, I didn't feel like coming in tonight either. I wasn't going to watch the game because the Grizzlies ain't in it. But I'd have found something else to do with my time. But I felt like we needed to discuss individuals twerking on police cars. I felt like we needed to discuss gun control. I felt like we needed to discuss the mass shooting that happened in Uvalde, Texas. that killed 19 babies and 2 adults. And did you see the backstory with the one in Uvalde, Texas, to whereas one of the teachers, which was a female, she was killed, and then 2 days later, her husband died from a heart attack? I think the caption said he died from a broken heart. What's up, James Winfrey? What's up, Mike? The city is out of control. We all know that it is crazy here in the city of Memphis. You know, I had my nephew who came in from up near St. Louis. He's at Scott Air Force Base, I believe. He's like a master, chief, master, sergeant, I don't know. He's like an E8 in the Air Force. But he brought his family in for the weekend. And then he had additional family that were staying in Airbnbs down in South Maine. They were having break-ins of cars down in South Maine, 10, 20, 10 cars being broken into. I have an individual that I know lives in one of the condo apartment complexes downtown. I'm not going to call their name. Their garage keeps getting hit with individuals coming in there, breaking into those cars, and also trying to steal the cars out of the parking garage. People are almost afraid to live downtown now. And if this is allowed to continue to happen, then you're going to have a lot of tourists that are going to not necessarily want to stay downtown because they know that it's not safe. They drive their cars in from Cincinnati or New Orleans or Ohio or Atlanta to have a good time at Memphis in May or one of the festivals that we're having or a concert that you may be having here in the city, or they may just want to visit Beale Street. But now you have to be concerned that you're not going to find your car or your SUV on bricks. Or you have to be concerned that you bring your vehicle down here to the city of Memphis and somebody bursts your window out to try to get to what's in your car, and you may not even be leaving anything in your car. Some people are just starting to leave their cars open and empty. I mean, it's just getting to the point to whereas those of us that live here and those of us that are older, a lot of the things that we don't want to participate in. You know, you don't want to live your life in fear, but you better be careful. You better be careful. When I was coming in tonight, and I was kind of looking at a few things, something popped up on my news feed on my phone that a 3-month-old was in intensive care because somebody was drag racing and ran into the car in which the 3-month-old was in. And as the video was showing, because I guess an individual shot this video that was out there when it initially happened, there was also one of the vehicles was on fire. As I'm sitting here right now, I hear some charger out there tuning up. These guys are running in and out of traffic. They're going all over the place. They're speeding. And even as I was coming out here tonight on 240, I saw an Infiniti that had to be doing like 100 miles an hour. I saw a Mustang that was dodging in and out of traffic. You know, and you got to be sitting there going, number one, where are these people going? Number two, gas is like almost $5 a gallon. Number three, don't they know that they could kill somebody? That they could hurt somebody? Do they even care? I'm saying if I had a beautiful car like that or a high performance car, Man, I'm trying to take care of the thing. Don't they know how much tires cost? Where are they getting all the money for all of these high-performance cars? Because I know they done jacked the prices up on cars. Anybody that went to try to buy a car lately, have you looked at the prices on these things? And especially some of these cars that are in high demand because, you know, it's supply and demand. Campbell said, what about the danger of active shooter and police duty act? Call me and talk to me about that, Campbell. Young lady on here saying, most of them don't care. It's so sad. You can't enjoy yourself. This is the way people that are feeling that live right here in this city. You know, somebody asked me the other day, how do I feel about Chief C.J. Davis? I think she's been here a year now. And I said that I was going to speak on it. I know they're doing a lot of things on the Memphis Police Department, and I've been watching the Memphis Police Department very closely, and there are a lot of officers that are very unhappy. I know that Mr. Strickland has been working with the police association. I know that they got a 5% raise for this year. They're going to get a 5% raise next year. They're going to utilize a lot of that half-cent sales tax that we were able to put in place via a referendum from the citizen to issue bonuses to try to get these guys paid and all of that. I know that they're talking about establishing an EDU unit or they have an EDU unit, but they're talking about adding an additional 30 officers. I know they did away with the Delta shift, and now they're supposedly have this big Charlie shift. But I also know that they're still short. I also know the deletion of the Delta shift didn't do any good. I also know that they're still having to hire people. But I also know that we got new patches with a flag. And I want to tell you that money that you're giving them, the 5% and the 9% bonuses, that's because of the police association. It's not because of Chief Davis. It's not because of Sean Jones that came in here. That's because of the police association and all of the hard work that they did to get the referendum passed. And because of the faith of the citizens of this great city that believed in their law enforcement officers and knew that they needed to be compensated for the hard job that they're doing. I've seen crime get worse in this city. I haven't seen it get better. I have not yet seen any initiatives, major initiatives, to address the crime in this city. I've seen some window dressing. I have been very quiet in regards to the things that have been occurring on the Memphis Police Department. Keely Grill said those new patches ought to make sure the public doesn't think the police are security guards. Okay, Keely. The number to call is 244-6874, Terry. 901-244-6874. 901-244-6874. I just don't think that there has been enough done yet. Now, have I given up on Police Chief Davis? No. She's only been here a year. It has taken a lot of these things a long time to happen and to be in place. But I will also tell you that I know there are a lot of individuals nationally, and Chief Davis may not be here very long because there are other things that are occurring as well that she may be selected to do something on a national level. So a lot of this is just positioning to be able to get there. But as a citizen of the city of Memphis, I have to know that while you're here, you have my best interests at heart. You have my safety and security first and foremost. That's what I have to know. And I'm not necessarily feeling that yet. I don't feel safe going out. I don't feel safe on 240. I don't feel safe going downtown. I don't feel safe sitting in the park. And sometimes I may not even feel safe sitting in my front yard. Hello? Hey, what's going on, Terry?
All right. I was calling in. Just wanted to say a few things.
I'm trying to put you on speaker, but it ain't working. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, finally got it. Thank you.
All right. Memphis, first of all, I want to say salute to my good friend and soldier, preacher. This guy wears so many hats. It's just really unbelievable.
Wow.
How he handles himself and how he really carries himself as a human being. It's unforgettable with me, number one. Secondly, Mike, I really feel that people in Memphis, we have to embrace each other.
Okay.
We must, when we talk about it all the time, but I think a lot of this violence is created by not having economic, low socioeconomic status.
Right.
I truly believe that. I believe once people start to make money,
Right.
that they start to feel better about themselves,
Uh-huh.
they can look good, they can have nice cars, they can have nice homes, and don't even mention the ladies that they can have. So
Wow.
it's just one of those things that I think we need to really, like I think about on employing common sense. Now, we all know that common sense is not common these days.
That is correct.
And that's why we need to work harder to achieve the status of common sense. It's the greatest sense that's given to us by God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can have 4 or 5 degrees. It means nothing if I don't have the common sense
Come on.
to carry it out without studying in school. It means nothing, absolutely nothing.
Right.
And I think that when it comes down to these streets, I think that people need to, the police officers that really have either grown up in the streets or near the streets, I think they're the ones should be on the front lines for that because they know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be fooled by these guys that, you know, that's coming to them like Judas, always smiling and killing them at the same time.
You know it.
That's what needs to happen,
Right.
quite frankly.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Hey, and I want to thank you so much for calling and give your business a shout out.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for that. Memphis Police Association and others here in Memphis, Arkansas, of course, Mississippi, and Tennessee. I am the CEO of Precision Painting Company, and you listeners who are listening to Mike, it's a great thing. This guy's so very knowledgeable, so ultra intelligent, okay? You call me at 901-649-3944. I'll make sure that because Mike told me to shout me out, I'll give you all some kind of discount.
Oh, wow.
Now, police officers, we appear on the Memphis Police Association's corporate website.
Friends of the Police Association.
That's right. I'm a friend of MPA.
Right.
Okay? So you guys call me, the ladies and men in blue, and I'll make it happen for you in any, of course, construction endeavor that you may be wishing for.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Terry, for calling in.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Right. The number to call is 244-6874, 244-6874, area code 901. And that was Terry Cox, who is the CEO and owner of Precision Painting, talking about the crime situation here in the city of Memphis. I'd like to hear what you got to say. How do you feel? How do you think the crime is here in the city of Memphis? If you are a police officer, are you happy with some of the things that are going on the police department? I know that there are a lot of changes. I know people are not necessarily for change. I don't want to see young people hurt in this city, but I also believe individuals have to be held accountable for their actions, especially when they start to intrude on the privacy of hard-working citizens in this city. I don't think there's anything wrong with a car show as long as it's done decent and in order. I don't think there's anything wrong with young people gathering together as long as it's decent and in order. That has been done throughout history. I think when I was coming up, we used to go to Overton Park. That's where everybody hung out at on Sundays. I think we also used to go to Martin Luther King Park. Terry, we need some sheetrock and painting done at the Police Association office. Terry, there you go. I think that's Keely Greer on the Facebook page. There's another thing I want to talk about real quick. Well, there's two things I want to talk about real quick before we get out of here. The Memphis City Council, and I believe it's Martavius Jones, which is crazy to me. They're trying to put a referendum on the ballot so that some of those individuals can actually run for 3 terms. I think the referendum was put on the ballot and the citizens unanimously said, no, we only want individuals to do 2 terms, because it used to be indefinite. You could get elected to the city council and you could stay on the city council for 20, 24 years, 20, 30 years, 50 years, whatever, as long as the citizens kept electing you. So when, believe it or not, it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was when that class came in that had Edmund Ford Jr., Jim Strickland, Kemp Conrad, what was his name? Kemp Conrad. But anyway, Janice Foley Love, all of those guys, when they got on the council, and I'm not saying it was necessarily them particularly, but somebody on that council, Morrison, possibly Harold Collins, they voted to put a referendum on the ballot because they felt those individuals that had came before them had been on the council too long, and I guess the power brokers in this city had pushed them to put a referendum on the ballot so that they could get some of those guys that had been in there for so long out of there. Hey, I have something I want to discuss with you after you're done with your show. Reed Hedgepath, that's Keely kicking in, Reed Hedgepath, but all of those guys had put a referendum on the ballot so that they could no longer run for all of these terms. And you, the citizens, voted to limit it to 2 terms. I agree with that. I think you should be limited in your terms. I think you get 8 years to kind of do what you need to do and then bring some fresh blood in and let's see what they can do, as opposed to all of those same ideas. And guess what? All of this crime has occurred under all of those people that are on there now. All of this crime has developed and continued to grow with all of those people on there now that have stewardship about what it is. So, they're going to put a referendum on the ballot, and you're going to go to the polls and vote. I just want you to keep in mind that, number one, things have not gotten better, they've gotten worse. Number two, a lot of your neighborhoods have been neglected. Yeah, Mr. Strickland said he was going to deal with the core city, which is downtown. And we kept telling them, you can build all of this great and wonderful stuff. We said all of this. Y'all can build all of this great and wonderful and beautiful stuff, and they're going to come in and they're going to wreak havoc. Because, see, you haven't paid attention to what's going on in other places all across the city. Parkway Village, Black Haven, Walker Homes, Indian Hills, the Bay Area, Raleigh, Lemoyne Gardens, or whatever they call it now, College Park, Klondike, Douglas, Fraser. You have not paid attention to what's going on. And then you've had some of your clones and cyborgs in place that made you look good in some of those communities, when in fact you did things for them, but you didn't do things to benefit the citizens that live in those areas. You didn't keep those citizens safe. You were the ones that actually started to break down the police department. You were the ones that actually advocated for some of this craziness that's going on right now. You individuals that are in office. Do you deserve a third term? No, you do not. And it was funny because they said, well, initially it was only for the city council. So now they've included the mayor. Jim Strickland, because he was not initially included. But it says Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland will seriously consider the possibility of a third term. Okay. After 2 weeks ago, Mayor Jim Strickland dismissed the idea of a third term as a remote possibility that he didn't spend much time thinking about. Now, and this is Samuel Hardiman of the Memphis Commercial Appeal. Now that the opinion could become open, Strickland said late Thursday that over the next several days, my family and I will seriously consider the opportunity. The political opportunities available to Strickland changed Tuesday night when the Memphis City Council voted to put the referendum on the ballot August the 4th that will ask voters whether term limits for Memphis mayor and the city council should be extended from the current 2 to 3 potential terms. The referendum had until Tuesday only applied to the city council, not mayor. However, it was amended Tuesday to include mayor, a possibility that had been bandied about for weeks. That possibility has prompted politicos to suggest that if mayor was included in the referendum, it would give Strickland the option as a popular incumbent, God, Jesus, a popular incumbent with some of the highest name recognition in the city. Okay. Well, okay. It's crazy, but okay. If the referendum passed in August, it would be a signal that voters were open to a third Strickland term and another re-election campaign in 2023. If Strickland were to announce he was running for re-election, it would likely prompt many of the people considering the 2023 to reevaluate the plan to decide if they want to challenge the incumbent, who was re-elected with 62% of the vote in 2019. When the amended referendum was approved Tuesday night, it was also approved with same night minutes because they wanted to rush it through, which means that the council cannot go back and change its mind. Members of the Strickland administration double-checked that the referendum did in fact pass with the same night minutes before leaving Memphis City Council. So he is considering running again, and he gonna jump on this bandwagon. Once the referendum passed, the commercial appeal asked Strickland, what do you do? Asked Strickland what he would do. He later replied with the statement, Strickland, serving in this role for nearly 2 terms has been the honor of my life, and there is still much to be accomplished. For the last several weeks, this idea has been discussed for council members, and I didn't spend much time thinking about it. Now it applies to mayor. Over the next several days, my family and I will seriously consider the opportunity. Okay. You know, I think it's a bunch of bull crap, but you're the ones that got to go to the poll, and you're the ones that have to decide. Now, I don't know if it's going to be anybody to choose from during that election that's going to be worthy. I hear that there may be a couple of females that throw their names in the hat. I think we should give someone else the opportunity to see if they can truly fix this city, put this city back on track, and not just necessarily focus on economic development. A lot of you people get bamboozled really quick. You know, they come to your church, they give $5,000, they sweep through and they give you a daycare center. Some people they set up really, really good because they want the access to that individual and to that community that that individual may be in. So they treat them really well. But you can't fool me. Crime is up. Homicides are up. The inner city and a lot of the surrounding areas, they're not safe. They don't pick up trash. The core values and the things that a lot of citizens pay for with their tax dollars are not necessarily being given to them. I see you establishing TIFs, TDZs, to where you increase the amount of taxes that we have to pay in certain areas, but it's normally geared toward the business community and not necessarily the citizens of this city. Citizens ask for the restoration of the Coliseum, you put that off. But you're building some sportsplex over there. And then you're talking about possibly commercializing it as well by putting some box store over there on public property. I want you to ask yourself when you go to the polls, and I'm going to come back with this several times, when you go to the polls on August the 4th, are you better off, you as a citizen? Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of things happening downtown. Hotels are being built and, industry is growing and all kinds of things are happening. But are you better off as a private citizen now than you were 8 years ago? Are you better off as a private citizen now than you were 12 years ago in this city, the city that we love, the city of Memphis? And I know it's time for me to go, but I got one more thing I want to talk about real quick. Angel, I know you're trying to get to your little show. Angel trying to get to the basketball game. Y'all, I just want you to know that. She tried to kick me out when I first got here. Dr. King once said that politics run a city and a nation. Guess what? He nailed it. That's what they say on here, y'all. I just want to say, hey, man, love your people. Hug your people. Love your people. There's so much going on. My son lost two of his best friends. These little guys used to be at my house. They grew up at my house. They were goofy. They did all kinds of little crazy stuff, hanging out with my son, but they were good dudes. We lost Jacob about 6 months ago. Jacob was a white guy. Jacob called me Pops. Jacob called my ex-wife Mom. Jacob was one of the coolest little dudes that I knew. Loved everybody. Never met a stranger. But he's gone. 31 years old. Gone. On last week, get a phone call. Another one of my son's best friends. Now, all three of these little dudes used to hang out together. Pete. Pete's in the United States Air Force, stationed up in New Jersey. Pete's gone. No more. These are young men. You would have never thought that anything would happen. Pete wasn't out here running around in the streets acting crazy. There's so much happening, man. Grab your loved ones. Let them know that you love them. They are very young. Tomorrow is not promised to anybody. My heart goes out, and it did to Jacob and his family. Now my heart really and truly goes out to Pete, Amari, their baby girl, and Pete's mom and dad and siblings. Love your people. Anyway, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to Memphis 360. Once again, it's been a plum, pleasing pleasure. And we're going to get started back up with the politicians coming back in. I'm going to try to see if I can get some more of the judges to come back in, because that's who I'm dealing with right now. Some of the judges. I may try to get Mayor Lee Harris, and I know his opponent, I may try to get him to come in, Steve Mulroy. I may try to get District Attorney Amy Warwick in, and also her opponent. Well, I'm sorry. Mayor Lee Harris and his opponent, Worth Morgan, and District Attorney Amy Warwick and her opponent, Steve Mulroy. I'm gonna try to see if I can get them in so we can sit down and talk about it, because I know a lot of people feel a certain way about that. And I just want to say thank you so much. And until next week, be blessed, be strong, be encouraged, and we'll see you next week.
We're gonna make you fall in love. SVPTV.